Why are you so concerned about the military spending? Because the truth is that Mark Carney comes into power facing a real crisis. A crisis in which involves Canada's neighbor, the United States, threatening its sovereignty. And one could make the argument that reinvesting in the military is a way of showing that Canada is willing to defend its borders. And it's willing to do what it needs to do in order to at least demonstrate a commitment to national security and a commitment to some of its relationships in NATO. So what's wrong with this push to increase military spending in this country?
Okay. Well, first of all, when you talk about defending our borders, I assume, your reference there is to the United States. Is that the level we want to be competing or defending ourselves from the United States? The military level? That is a contest that we will never win. Okay, the U.S. is by far the biggest military, most powerful military in the world, plus nuclear armed and everything. There's absolutely no way, if it's going to come down to a U.S. invasion, no amount of military spending on our part is going to defend us from that.
But Linda, in a world in which Canada's allies in Europe are also having to increase the amount of money that they're spending on the military, in a world in which Donald Trump is pushing Canada, demanding that Canada increase its spending to demonstrate its commitment to the alliance, does Canada have any other choice?
Yes, it does. And for instance, I'm all in favor of strengthening our ties with Europe. I think that's so important. But why do it on the military level? Why not strengthen our trade ties, strengthen our commitment to international law, strengthen our commitment to action on climate change, which the Europeans are so much more advanced on than we are? I would argue that we should be using our voice within NATO to argue for less military spending. The way to deal with the crises in the world is not more military spending, it's more international diplomacy, more cooperation, more understanding. Look, these things are difficult to achieve, I admit. And we have to be able to help Ukraine defend itself when Russia invades. But I'm just saying, in a broader way, what we need to do is focus more on peace, international cooperation, international development, to just sort of put all this effort and energy about building a stronger military. I think that's a crazy idea for the world, not just for Canada. We should be moving away from that.
You say it's crazy, but those who support the idea say it's realistic. We live in a much more difficult environment today, and that it's incumbent upon Canada to demonstrate that it is serious about its security and that it is serious about its commitment to an alliance like NATO. And the fact is that the NATO alliance is in peril, that the United States is threatening to withdraw, and the Europeans are very intent on keeping the United States in the fold. And so Canada contributing a minimum amount, or upwards of 5% of its GDP to the military, it strengthens that alliance.
Again, I would argue that the whole focus on everything being military and solving our problems through military action is just fundamentally wrong. And yes, there's all kinds of voices out there arguing for that. They always argue for that. We have so many urgent problems in the world today. Military solutions are not the answer to them. I would like to see, for instance, much more focus on nuclear disarmament. Apart from the climate threat, the whole nuclear threat is just so dangerous, and it gets virtually no attention. But I would also want to point out, when we talk about military spending, with Carney committing to taking us to 5% of GDP, that will effectively consume all the money for the next 10 years. And already they're talking about the cutbacks that there will have to be through all the other areas of government. Well, why should the government's top priority be the military? We want strong public programs in this country.
You've been listening to a clip of In Bed with the Elephant with me, your host, Adrian Harewood. Be sure to check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. And please be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and write a review. We love hearing from you.